following is a presentation of HBO Sports.
I was born to fight.
My life has always been a fight. I think the hardest part of my fight in life is just learning how to deal with setbacks and learning how to deal with obstacles and learning how to deal with challenges and learning how to persevere through those challenges.
In boxing, you can prepare for any punch and be ready. But you never know when life can give you a punch.
You could define a fighter as a man who knows only one way to make sense of the world, who comprehends pain as a singular gauge of truth, whose approach to his pursuit is categorically inseparable from his identity.
Good to see you. Hello.
On November 19th, Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward will square off for the light heavyweight championship in boxing's most anticipated bout of the year. Two of the world's greatest fighters. Two men who've always known only one way to live. The story of Andre Ward begins in Northern California. It's here where the son of an African-American mother and a white father first came to understand the complexities of his identity.
Growing up as a biracial kid in the Bay Area, probably growing up like a biracial kid anywhere, you have struggles, and the white side would consider you black. So you're not accepted on that side, and a lot of times on the African-American side, you're not black enough.
Ward's father, Frank, a former amateur fighter, raised Andre and his brother Jonathan on his own in their early years.
I mean, my dad was Superman to me. And there was just this internal fortitude about my father that I recognized as a kid. And, you know, I always felt safe in my dad's presence.
When Ward was 9, his world changed forever when his dad took him to this Hayward, California gym.
So this gym right here is the first gym I've ever walked in. It's the first time I ever seen a real boxing ring. Like, it's boarded up right here. But like my dad, you know, I wasn't big enough to look inside the gym, but there used to be a window right there. My dad lifted me up, and I looked in the gym, and I saw the ring. And that's the first time I fell in love with this sport, man. That's the first time I ever was like, I want to do this. Joe.
Hey.
Good to see you, man.
How you doing? Good to see you. How's everything going?
First heavy bag ever I hit.
I had to hang it up there because once you signed it, nobody would punch at it. They said, we can't punch that.
It's the first bag I ever hit right here. Old school leather. I used to walk down these steps every day. It's crazy when you're small.
It looks so big?
It looks so big, and then when you get older, the place looks so small.
I know this place was bigger than that.
That's crazy. And this is where I met Verge.
Exactly. That's where you met Verge.
I was hitting that bag, that black bag that we talked about, and then he was sitting over like on that bench right there, that, you know, that little area over there, and I hit the bag, and I look at him, and he give me a nod of approval.
He said looking for a fight. I said, well, there he is.
It's
That's where
crazy.
everything started.
That's how it started right there.
Yeah.
Verge is Virgil Hunter, who began training Ward shortly after the youngster discovered the gym. They formed an instant bond, with Hunter glimpsing harbingers of the extraordinary in his student.
He had a wisdom that most kids his age didn't have. He was a winner. I mean, plain and simple, and really no other way to define it.
Soon, Ward began what would be a highly decorated amateur career. And from the outset, the fighter, his father, and his trainer targeted the 2004 Olympics as a long-term goal. But as Ward blossomed in the ring, elsewhere, he was beginning to see unnerving holes in the aura of his hero.
I just watched this pattern with my dad where he'd be normal in the morning. We'd go to school, me and my brother, my dad would go to work. He'd come home, he'd be normal, tired, but normal. And he'd spend some time with us, and then he'd go into his room for about an hour. And then he'd come out just a different person. And I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I'm like, and I used to tell my brother, like, man, I hate when he goes in that room. Because it's weird, he comes out different. Yeah, in this house, this is when I came to find out really what addiction was. In this house, this is when I got the understanding of like what my dad was actually struggling with. I had to grow up a lot in this house, you know, probably quicker than I wanted to because of just life circumstances. And I was a young kid.
The source of Frank Ward's struggle, it turns out, was heroin. Meanwhile, Andre was estranged from his mother, Madeline, who was living for stretches at a time in the streets, battling her own demons.
I saw my friends with their parents, and I was like, man, what would that be like to come home and your mom is there and she's cooking? And I just didn't understand what that felt like, and it hurt. But then my mom would pop up every now and again. You know, she'd be kind of beat up from the streets, not physically, but just, you know, just from living that type of lifestyle. And, you know, I soon found out that her struggle was crack cocaine.
Ward only lived in this house for a few years. His father lost it when he sought full-time treatment for his addiction.
Man, this right here, this brings back memories. This is first place me and my brother came to when my dad lost our home and he had to go into a program. This is where Millie and Verge, who, you know, at that time they were our godparents, and Verge had been training me probably for like 3 or 4 years. You know, they took us in, and this is where we stayed, right here. I mean, who does that?
Well, my whole goal in that was to make him and his brother feel secure and let them know that everything was going to be all right as far as they were concerned. I promised them that I would look after them until they were able to look after themselves, if that's what it turned out to be.
Ward lived for most of his teenage years with Hunter in the Bay Area, though he also reunited for a period of time in inner-city Oakland with his mother. Still, all throughout Frank Ward's troubles, he remained a strong presence in his son's life. Until tragedy struck when Andre was 18.
My father dying, and dying abruptly, was probably, you know, one of the toughest things I've ever had to deal with in my life, even to this day, because I wasn't prepared for it. You know, my dad died of heart disease at 46 years old. You know, I wanted answers from God and didn't have them, and I just shut down. I didn't want to box anymore. You know, I wasn't praying, reading my Bible, going to church, none of that stuff. I was self-destruction. Started, you know, drinking a lot, you know, started hanging with the wrong people. I just didn't care.
Nonetheless, the pinnacle he'd been targeting, the 2004 Olympics, was drawing near. As ever, Virgil Hunter's guidance was vital.
What I told him is that whatever he had and whatever he desired to do, that once it's gone, you're not going to get it back. I never was concerned about Andre the boxer. It was Andre, the young man, that I was concerned about.
Somehow, some way, man, you know, I was able to get things in order in time and qualify and get back on the right track. Find myself in Athens, Greece. My dad was big on things like honor. My dad was big on things like respect. He was big on our family name. I didn't want my dad to die in vain.
Ward took home the gold in Athens, officially pronouncing himself one of the best young American prospects in generations. With a new level of stakes and fame in the offing, when he returned home, he sought out Napoleon Kaufman, a former NFL running back turned pastor.
I just saw him as a young man that was, you know, seeking to get his life right with the Lord. He did talk to me a little bit about the loss of his father. But when I saw him, I just saw someone that was looking for direction, had some pain, But I was very, very hopeful that as he continued to walk with the Lord, that his life was going to change in a positive way.
With the guidance of Kaufman, faith became Ward's foundation. He took on Son of God as his boxing moniker and steadily emerged as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
Quick left hook. Ward believes he's got him hurt, and it's another knockdown for Ward. Ward landing when he wants to, where he wants to.
He reached for greatness tonight, and he may have grabbed it.
At 32 years of age, he's a perfect 30-0. But the journey hasn't been seamless. Ward's had long stretches of inactivity owing to legal entanglements with his promoter, as well as frustrating battles with injuries. Today, though, as the biggest bout of his career against Sergey Kovalev approaches, he prefers to stay focused on the positive.
For many years of my life, I'm sandwiched in between a heroin addict and a crack addict. And by the grace of God, I came out of that. I shouldn't be here doing what I'm doing right now. Like, everything that's happening is a bonus for me because God was merciful. God showed me grace. You know, when I was going left and almost blew it, you know, he had the right people in place at the right time.
Well, we knew we weren't put together for nothing. We know that. So if we aren't put together for nothing, then it has to be for something. Wherever the biggest diamond in the world is, the expedition that we're on, we're getting close to it. You know, we'll discover it.
Dre definitely is the definition of a fighter. He's a fighter. Knowing his past and to watch him get up and achieve what he's achieved in life is just amazing. I've seen him go from a boy into a man, not only just from his professional standpoint. I've watched him become such a loving father, an awesome husband, a provider for his family. It's been wonderful to see.
Apple don't far from the tree.
Together with his wife Tiffany, Ward is raising 4 children, and certainly not taking for granted all he's able to give them.
My sons come home every day. Did mom cook? Did mom cook? Like, it's amazing. I'm like, you guys have no idea, like, how blessed you are, man. And they will one day. You know, they'll start to understand it one day, but that stability in the home is so important.
Hello.
Also today, Ward has his own mom, now clean and sober, back in his life.
Go on.
Another one? Heck nah.
And as for his father, he may have been gone 14 years, but he's never gone missing.
I believe my dad has been a part of this journey, you know, since he passed. And I don't know how, I just believe he has. You know, and that's why I wear his initials on my trunks. My dad cared about character. You know, he had his struggles, but he was honest about his struggles. And he was a fighter. He'd always fight to get back on his feet, and he would. I think he'd be most pleased with the man that I try to be on a day-to-day basis, the type of husband that I try to be, the type of father that I try to be. That's what would make him extremely proud, more than anything.
A world away from the Northern California coast, near the hazy nexus of Europe and Asia, the light heavyweight champion of the world came of age amid his own unforgiving landscape.
Chelyabinsk is my hometown. This city is industrial city. A lot of factories there. People there are more stronger for survive, yeah.
In Chelyabinsk, Russia, steel production is still the biggest industry. Raw materials forged by intense heat, shaped by extreme pressure into something seemingly unbreakable. It's a fitting backdrop for the story of Sergey Kovalev, who saw the world he knew start to crumble when he was still just a child.
When USSR was before split, USSR, yeah, we lived happy, and we feed our dog some sausage, you know. We gave to our dog like everything what we ate. 1991, when USSR was split, when Russia was born, yeah, we felt a lot of changes. Our dog forgot about sausage and everything, you know, like, and my mom and my stepfather didn't get enough money for life.
His mother, Nadezhda Pashnina, once worked in one of the city's many factories.
Зарплату не платили. Как бы получалось, зарплату нам давали продуктами. Трое детей на тот момент. У меня было 3 детей. Муж работал в литейке, тоже здесь же, плавильщиком. Вот ему часть денег дадут, мне часть денег. Вот как бы немножко это... Ну, и так старались где-то что-то все равно.
Our neighborhood, everybody lived like that, you know, and we didn't understand that we are living poor or rich, you know, like just like we lived.
On trips back home, Kovalev still visits his neighborhood, where he and his siblings were raised by his mother and stepfather.
Yeah.
His mother hasn't moved from his small childhood apartment, which has changed over time, but nonetheless offers constant reminders of old realities.
We got this room and this room. This room was busy. Here lived one old woman. We used to be together, one kitchen, one restroom, and we didn't have any shower, just a sink and toilet. And this room is like a kinder room. Here we lived and slept, me, my younger brother, and older sister. Yeah, it was was a hard share everything between us, you know.
And outside the cramped confines of home, the city streets offered their own challenges.
In my neighborhood, you must have and should have self-defense, you know, because nobody will help you on the street or somewhere, because like it was very tough time. Sometimes I don't wanna like cover this, but yes, I did 3-4 friends on the bikes, drove somewhere to another neighborhood and like grab somebody on the street. We was young guys, you know, and we look at everything, like try to find some action, some interesting things, and of course, we got a lot of mistakes. It's life.
When he was 11, he discovered a better place than the streets to spend his days.
Welcome to my first gym.
It's where he first learned to box. And 22 years later, the memories are still vivid, even amid the rubble.
Yeah, here was, you see where was ring, and this side was heavy bags, this side too was punching bags, there and there was speed bags. This is place where I began. 1994, December 1st, was the first my boxing workout. Yeah, it was here. We stand up in a line, and coach stand up in front of us and explain to everybody how to do, what we should to do, like, and what is boxing. Yeah, it's my first coach, Novikov Sergei Vladimirovich.
Передняя рука обеспечивает защиту, обеспечивает атаку, финтом.
Sergei Novikov was the trainer in charge of the gym's aspiring young talent.
Сергей пришел в общем потоке. Худенький, маленький, невзрачный.
He teach us that we must be men.
Сам одевал перчатки, я в принципе был неплохой тоже спортсмен, еще действующий, уже по старой памяти одевал, разобью нос, и на следующую неделю, глядишь, и ручки на месте, и головка пониже. Есть ребята более одаренные, более сильные. Но с течение трудностей, вот обстоятельств трудностей, обстоятельств времени, они слабейшие бросают, сильно остаются. Вот он один из тех, кто сильный духом.
But a year into his training, Kovalev was dealt a blow that sent him reeling.
When I was 12 years old, my stepfather died from heart attack, you know, he passed away, and I was very upset. And I stopped boxing because really was very disappointed in the life, you know. I was emotionally killed.
Не пришел. Я резко думаю, нет, этого парня нельзя отпускать. Нельзя отпускать. Не из-за того, что он крутой спортсмен, а из-за того, что я просто потеряю человека. Послал ребят. Ребята заходили за ним, вот эти его товарищи, сверстники заходили.
Я Сергею сказала, говорю, сыночка, вот ты у нас из взрослых мужчин, ты остался. Это мелкие, говорю. Да. Теперь тебе надо им помогать и подсказывать, что как. И где-то мне помочь, поддерживать. И Сережа очень резко изменился. Сначала, ну как, ребенок, мальчишество, все. А тут он резко изменился. Он буквально за каких-то 2-3 месяца прям как вырос, возмужал. Вот.
It was like maybe 3-4 months I didn't use the boxing gym enough till I forgot this hard day when we lost stepfather. Boxing gave me hope that time because we didn't have a rich life.
Fortified and re-energized, Kovalev grew up fast, steadily marching up Russia's amateur rankings. But over time, he came to feel that his path to international recognition was being blocked by his country's boxing politics. As he mulled his fighting future, in 2009, a contact in Russia put him in touch with a US-based manager named Egis Klimas.
I was traveling to Kazakhstan for my other fighters' fight, and I said, why don't we meet there? My dear friend Don Turner was with me. I flew Sergey to Kazakhstan. We went to gym to train, and Sergey just did shadow boxing. He just did a couple of moves, and Don Turner, when he saw it, kind of like, damn, where did you get this guy from? You can make him a really big, huge champion.
Following that appraisal from Turner, a highly respected trainer, Klimas brought Kovalev to the United States to begin the process of building a professional career from the very bottom rung of the sport.
And I explained to Sergey, I'm not going to be making you money. I'm not making money off you because nobody is giving me a single penny. All I can do for you, I can get you some money for food. I can give you some money for your living expenses. And I said, as soon as we're going to get a promoter, then promoter going to take care of you.
Kovalev fought his first 18 bouts in obscurity and had little to show for his winning efforts.
I had inside of me some kind of thoughts where I gotta go, I don't want to do this. But I couldn't show him. He also had some points into his head where I gotta quit this. It's not for me.
In 2012, Kovalev got the chance to impress promoter Kathy Duva, who agreed to put him on the undercard of one of her shows. His opponent was Darnell Boone. And a minute and a half into the second round, the fighter ferociously breathed new life into his career.
When the fight was over, Kathy Duva was standing with a contract right here, was going out of the ring. He said, oh, where is my pen? I want you guys to sign it.
My boxing career started grow up very fast.
This guy is a mean fighter.
The most sinister presence in the ring, enjoys inflicting punishment. Kovalev is clinically in command here. It is over, and he made it look easy.
I even couldn't imagine that I will get this point. I'm very surprised myself.
Sergei Kovalev has never lost a professional fight and has been the unified world light heavyweight champion for nearly 2 years. A husband and a father now himself, he's also a 33-year-old man who will never forget how far he's traveled from his origins.
For everything I'm fighting, in the life, in the ring, and right now I understand that I passed a very long road to be here, you know. And every day, new motivation again and again, and I'm here, still undefeated, and continue to my goals, to my dreams.
Andre Ward and Sergei Kovalev come from opposite sides of the world, but there are commonalities to the resolves that ultimately define their stories. And now, on November 19th, the two undefeated fighters will collide in boxing's biggest bout of the year.
My fight with Andre Ward is an important fight in my life and a huge step and test in my boxing career.
This fight against Kovalev is definitely the next great fight in my life. It's definitely the next great moment in my life. And life is about moments.
You could say that all men are, as much as anything else, a product of their experiences. That every struggle and every victory, every encounter and every realization, every question and every resolution determine how they live and what they want.
That was a window right there that he peeked through.
Thank you, Mom.
I made it out, and I made it through it.
They are two men who long ago discovered that fighting was the only way to make sense of their worlds. They are two men whose paths now come together the only way they should. On Saturday, November 12th, Road to Kovalev Ward premieres, a behind-the-scenes look at the fighters' preparations for their upcoming showdown. Then on Saturday, November 19th, it's the live fight, Sergei Kovalev versus Andre Ward, live on HBO pay-per-view. This has been a presentation of HBO Sports.